for lunch or dinner, your best bet is Joe's, one of the most popular dining destinations on the Strip. Joe's provides the ideal setting for private parties with accommodations for up to 150 guests. Stop by to see us at the Forum Shops at Caesars and ask for Thomas Johnson, your maitre d'.
And if you're going in the evening, make sure and make a reservation. Otherwise, you might be waiting for a while. 702-792-9222, the number at Joe's Seafood Prime Steak and Stone Crab. So check out this. I teased this by saying 21-0. This is David Price. If he's off a quality start, and a quality start is defined as 6 innings or more, with 3 or fewer earned runs allowed. If he's off a quality start and is a home favorite, next game, the Red Sox are 21-0. And that would apply tonight. David Price is off a quality start. The Red Sox are home favorites. They're in an angle that is 21-0. Now, it's up to you to determine the rationale, how strong it is, and whether it's kind of fluky. But fact is, 21-0 is not the worst angle in the world, even if it is not the single most logical one you've ever heard. But it's not. I've heard crazier ones, that's for sure. Jason Brinks, gearing up for football season, college and the NFL. You can follow him on Twitter at @thereal_HBC. He puts his money where his mouth is. He's a serious bettor, a professional bettor. What's going on, JB? How are you, man?
How we doing, Dave?
I'm doing fine.
Actually firing in a bet on preseason as we speak, as the openers have just come out for
I will have to.
Week 1.
I know what game that is because we've talked about it, and that's something I will be doing once I get out of here as well. Then, good information. So let's talk for a couple of minutes about approach to the NFL preseason, and let's just throw this out of the mix right away. Anybody who says that the NFL, how can you bet on NFL preseason games? If I hear that, I know it's a person who's not a serious player, because basically every serious NFL bettor I know can't wait for the preseason to start because it offers opportunities you don't find in the regular season.
Absolutely. When it comes to that league, that's the only league I actually play preseason in. I don't play preseason in any other league except the NFL. I think part of the reason why, I'll just speak for myself, why I like the preseason is because a lot of these guys that are playing are all guys from college, and I follow college a lot closer than a lot of, most normal people do. And, it's pretty sad how much I look forward to the NFL preseason, but I love it.
Well, so do I. And, there are things that you can figure out in terms of once you know approximately what the rotations are going to be, particularly with the quarterbacks and which linemen will be out there. There are some advantages when you've got, for instance, running quarterbacks. I think running quarterbacks do have an advantage in the preseason because there's really no game plan for them defensively. And you will find them running around in the second half of football games and keeping drives extended with their feet. That's something, you're not going to see that in the regular season because they're not going to be on the field. And if they are, the other team's going to game plan for them.
Yeah, I agree with you. A mobile quarterback in the second half of these when they're usually in the game, at the end of the game, second half of these preseason games, you have a makeshift offensive line. You have coaches that have players out there that they probably putting them in situations where they aren't good enough to be in, or they want to see how they if there's people fighting for jobs and everything. So there's going to be a lot of breakdowns as far as protection goes. So if you have a mobile quarterback, he can really that's a good side to be on. I remember there was a kid on the Falcons, like maybe 5 or 10 years ago. I don't even remember. I don't think the guy ever threw a pass in an NFL game. He was deadly in the preseason. I think he went to East Carolina. I could be wrong, but this guy, he would just get in there and just run wild. So having a mobile quarterback is definitely a plus in these preseason games.
Yeah, a guy who I've always feared. If I was on the other side and I saw Joe Webb coming on the field in the fourth quarter, it's like, oh boy, because he'd use his legs to keep drives going, and
right.
Webb was never much throwing the football, but he was a very dangerous preseason quarterback.
Yeah, he was really good in the preseason. He's still on a roster.
Yeah, right? I know. So so's Geno Smith, by the way. So let's use him as an example. he clearly is a guy who cannot play. He should never be on the field in the regular season. He's a third-string quarterback. But in the preseason, I don't know, that Geno Smith might not be the worst guy to have on the field if you're on his team.
Yeah, no, that's an example of a guy who you never want to bet on when the games count on a Sunday, but when the games don't really count, well, I mean, I say they count a lot in the preseason, but you know what I mean. That's not a bit. Also, like, you kind of look for guys who have played, who actually got some action in games, and as opposed to some undrafted rookie from Holy Cross that's going to be playing for someone else. So you can pick up edges if you match up these quarterbacks and you find out what the rotations are going to be. I mean, I know the one year I made a ton of money was actually when Russell Wilson was in his rookie year. I mean, he just lit it up in the preseason, and that was an example of someone who was actually fighting for a job. Because if you remember, the Seattle had signed Doug Flynn to a contract, a free agent contract, and then he never even got on the field because Russell Wilson was just lighting it up in the preseason. So that's another thing you can look for, is guys that are fighting for jobs. Even if you have two quarterbacks that are both fighting for a job, that's not a bad place to put your money, because they're out there playing basically for their livelihood.
And one more we'll touch on is the coaching, because there's some coaches who they don't care about the preseason, and there are others, and John Harbaugh immediately comes to mind. He wants to win the games, and it doesn't matter whether they're preseason or regular season.
Yeah, Harbaugh he's been on an incredible run in the preseason. I'm pretty sure he covered all four last year, and I think he had a nice run coming into the preseason, into last year. So he's a guy who's out there playing to win. Also sometimes you look at new coaching staffs and things like that. Anywhere where you could pick up that one team is playing with more motivation to win the game than others. A lot of times you'll have a team that's just out there strictly evaluating players. They don't care about what happens on the scoreboard. All they want to do is, find their backup right tackle. That's their goal going into that game. Then you have another coach who's out there, and he wants to win the game. So if you can find those situations, you'll see some really lopsided scores in those type of games.
If you want one of the sharpest sports bettors around doing some work for you this year, you want to get in touch with Jason, you can follow him on Twitter at @thereal_HBC. And you don't. It's a private account, so. They have to send you a request, and then you can. They could just send a follow request, or even if they want to send me a DM and find out about how my service works and everything. All my plays are sent out via email to my clients. So, anything you could email me too at brinkspicks@gmail.com too. There you go. Good stuff, Jason. Talk to you soon, buddy.
Take it easy, Dave.
Jason Brinks, he puts his money where his mouth is. He is a serious player. And I got to tell you, he's good, okay? So if you want to find out more, be sure and get in touch. Quick break. We'll come back, and we'll have Marco D'Angelo on board with the marquee matchup from WagerTalk, the Astros and Indians, next.
The Las Vegas Sports Line. Follow us on Twitter at the LV Sports Line and at ESPN Las Vegas.
What's hot today? It's time for the WagerTalk Marquee Matchup of the Night. WagerTalk.com. Start winning now.
It is $2 Tuesday at WagerTalk.com. We'll tell you more about that in just a moment. Marco D'Angelo joining us right now to talk about the WagerTalk Marquee Matchup. And boy, this is a good one. Justin Verlander on the mound for the Houston Astros. Shane Bieber throwing for the Cleveland Indians. Big game. Superstar pitchers. I mean, Bieber just had a great all-star game. He's having a phenomenal season. Verlander might be in the hunt for another Cy Young. This is a good one, Marco.
It is, Dave. We've seen this line open up at Houston at minus $120, but we've seen the market move I'm seeing across town mostly 135s and as high as 138 in some spots. So some money coming in on Houston and Verlander. And why not, Dave? I mean, he's the big-name pitcher. Bieber's the up-and-coming pitcher for the Indians. But as you said, Bieber's having his best career this season. It's been a short career so far, but he's definitely pitching well, and is coming off a monster game in his last one. Now, it was against the Toronto Blue Jays, but he did get something we don't see in baseball hardly anymore, Dave, a complete game. He went the distance for the shutout, allowed just one hit in that game, struck out 10. But Justin Verlander, although he's only been going 6 innings each start, Dave, last 3 starts, 6 innings, he's given up a grand total of 4 runs. What you might want to look at in this one is the under with these two guys, the way they're pitching right now. And there's some numbers that support the under. Justin Bieber, after a loss this season, how about 8-1 to the under? And in all of his starts this year, 14-5 to the under.
That's pretty strong stuff.
It definitely is, and it's tough to try to step in front of Houston the way they're playing, especially with Verlander on the mound. But Cleveland right now is playing their best ball of the season as they've got themselves back into the playoff race, putting some heat on Minnesota and definitely closing the gap on the wild card situation. So I'm going to go ahead and go under tonight for the play with Cleveland and Houston.
We talked about this being a season where, because of the erratic bullpens, I personally am not playing full game unders at all. I'm concentrating everything on first 5 innings. But would this game kind of be an exception because of the fact that the two pitchers, at least, you can sort of count on them going more than 5 innings?
Yeah, I would definitely. Bieber's a guy that gets a lot of pitch count, and Verlander, although he's only gone 6 innings in the last 3 starts, they were games. In one of the games, he had a 12. It was a 12-4 route, and no need to keep him in a game like that. So, in playoff implications, these two teams definitely probably will meet somewhere down the road in the playoffs. I think you would want to see your stars out there, probably to the 7th inning, to get the job done. And this is one of those ones where, Dave, I will go full, but I can't argue with you if you want to take this first 5 for the under as well.
All right, let's talk about what's happening at Wager Talk, because it's $2 Tuesday, always a really popular promotion, and for obvious reasons. I mean, you're going to get a top play from somebody who's on a roll, and it's going to cost you a grand total of $2.
Yeah, and tonight's no better of a guy to try out, because there's a new guy that we've had. He's only been on the site a couple months, but, man, he's making some noise already. Hakeem Prophet, one of the up-and-coming young handicappers. We've had him on several of Kelly's shows and such. You can get tonight, and it's his first 5% play at Wager Talk. You're going to get it for $2. It's normally a $30 play. You can check that out right now at Wager Talk for just $2.
And we both have plays up tonight as well. I know you've got one selection up, and I have a free selection, which I'm actually going to use momentarily as the play of the day here on the show. And I've also got another one of the bigger games on the board tonight that I have as a best bet. So if you want to check out Marco and myself, be sure to do so as well.
Good stuff to do it, Dave, and I got my interleague game of the week tonight, so we're coming off a nice win last night to get the week started with Miami, and we got a little dog play tonight, so check that out at Wager Talk.
Good stuff. Thanks, Marco. We'll talk to you tomorrow, bud.
No problem. Bye-bye.
Tomorrow, of course, is the day that Wager Talk tapes all its videos, so there'll be lots of good stuff, and we'll find out what they're taping tomorrow when we have Marco on the show. Again, WagerTalk.com, also the companion to WagerTalk.com, SportsMemo.com. And they run things the same way there. And they have the same special offer on Tuesday. If you go to SportsMemo.com, you'll get one of their hot handicappers with his best bet for the day available for only $2. So at both sites, some bargains to be had. WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com. Time for us to check out the last thing we do every day here on the show, and that's go to our Lions Physical Therapy Play of the Day.
It's the LPT Play of the Day. Tonight's best bet from Lions Physical Therapy. Your 5-star rated specialists.
And we'll take a look at the matchup in Miami tonight as the Twins take on the Marlins. Jake Odorizzi on the mound for Minnesota, and the impressive rookie Zach Gallen will be throwing for the Miami Marlins. Now, Odorizzi has not been pitching at the same level he was earlier in the year. We talk a lot about game scores. with 50 being an average game score if you're using that old, it's been tweaked, but it's the old Bill James game score method. 50's average. In his last 7 outings, Jake Odorizzi, only 39 average. That's really bad.